Is anyone else on the call or on the webinar?
It's just me, I guess.
Who?
April Thompson.
Oh, hi, April.
Hi, how are you?
Good. All right. Well, let me just make a quick announcement. So for those of you who may be on the webinar but not on the call, just a reminder that if you want to call in, and this is an open discussion, if you want to call in, go to the Event Info tab at the top left hand of your screen, and in that box on that tab you'll see the call-in information, and you can call in and we can have an open conversation. Okay.
I'm going to have to put you on mute because I'm sharing my office, okay?
No worries. April, I'm sorry, remind me what agency again?
ICL, the FRC.
Gotcha. Great. Okay. Has anyone else called?
Yeah, Roseanne and Ray from MHA.
Okay.
Mel Barbanchek from Greater Binghamton.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a lot of feedback. I don't know if that was your phone, Mel, but just in case, again, you know, if you're on the call, oh, okay, I see a note from Brianna. So if you're getting feedback, I believe it's because you might have the volume up on your, I believe on your.
Well, I turned the computer off.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah. So if you have the computer, I guess, and the phone on at the same time, you'll get the feedback. Okay. So Rose and Ray, where are you? Who are you with again?
MHA.
MHA. Okay. And where? MHA.
That's the House of America, Dutchess County.
Dutchess. Okay, great. Okay. And who else? Anyone else on the call?
This is Sarah Tillotson from Greater Binghamton.
Okay.
Outpatient.
Okay. And Mel, you're with
Greater Binghamton also.
But inpatient or different program?
Patient. Outpatient Children's.
Okay. But Mel and Sarah, are you guys together or different locations?
Different locations.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Who else is on the call? All right. I think that is everyone. It looks like everyone. And if anyone else calls or joins in who hasn't called in yet, please just announce yourself when you come on.
Jim?
Yeah?
My supervisor, Chuck Vargas, is also on the line listening.
Okay, great.
I just got on the phone, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I saw his name on the attendees. Okay, great. So, and welcome. And please don't read anything into this. I see a lot of faces who I haven't seen for a while. Great, welcome back. So we'll move ahead with our agenda. Thank you all for joining. So our agenda is pretty standard. I just want to get some status updates and how things are going with KEY at your sites in terms of how many groups, how many kids you have, and then talk a little bit about how it's going with the groups, challenges, highlights, solutions that might be coming up. And then I want to spend a little time talking about performance indicators and a little bit on the evaluation end, especially now that we're coming to the end of the project and the Learning Collaborative. So we're going to be actually wrapping up in December with a kind of concluding webinar, and we'd like to have a little data. So if you have data to contribute, we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the end. I know data wasn't a big part of the project, but again, if you have it and can share it, we'd like to include as much as possible.
Sure.
So let's do a little go around and just get status. For now, if you can just tell me how things are going on your site with regards to either recruitment or the number of groups and kids you have, and I'll just go through the list. So April, how are things going at ICL?
We just started lesson 1 because we had our summer break program, and so we started up when the school year just started. A lot of the youths were reluctant to start because they felt that it was a form of schooling, but once we informed them of how it's that it will benefit them in the long run, they seem to have been more at ease, but we seem to have to go over each lesson twice. We only meet up once a week. So last week we did lesson 1, and then this week we did an overview of lesson 1. We only have 3 youths in it right now, so that's pretty much it. The reluctancy was a little bit, when each new youth comes in, they seem to be like, well, I thought this was a group, not school, so, but in the long run, we seem to be moving along once they get started. Okay.
And remind me again, April, you're community-based, outpatient?
We're just community-based.
Right.
Pretty much just community-based. They come in for help in the community, to get to know the community, or for the youth's sakes, they seem to come in and looking for peers of their own who are in the same situation or have the same,
Okay. But the kids that you have are not necessarily receiving treatment.
They're not necessarily receiving treatment. Some of them might be, but maybe not in our facility per se. But they do come here for other reasons, such as learning, the community, making friends, and things like that.
Okay. So, and then I'll go back and talk about some of the points that you're bringing up, because, again, through the Learning Collaborative, we've had discussions about that issue around engaging kids and recruiting kids and getting them to, sort of think differently about it in terms of, it being a homework, educational, because it's a workbook. Sometimes kids do see it that way. But we've had some discussions about, how to work around that. But I can go back to that when we go through the specifics. Let's move along. Rose and Ray, MHA, Dutchess County.
Yep. We've started 5 weeks ago, and we've done 5 groups now, 10 each, 10 total, because we have the Teen Challenge group and the Young Adult group. We've done 4 lessons, lesson 10 through 13, and we've done a lot of activities that enhance, I guess, the book to go along with it, and they seem to like the activities.
Great. So you have 2 groups going on at the same time?
Yeah, we have Tuesday nights is the teen group, and then Wednesday nights is the young adult group.
Okay, and then how many in each group?
There are 7 kids in the teen group, and then there's 13 in the young adult. Okay.
And the teen group is, and I think I remember, it's more 13 to 15 or around there?
The teen group is from 14 to 18, and then the young adult group is from 19 to 25.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Great. And and again, we'll go through this later, but how's attendance?
It's pretty good. We have most of our teens show up to every week, and then it depends. Every other week, the young adults, they have a big amount, and then like about 7 or 8 show up. Work schedules. Yeah, work schedules.
Great. So, moving along, Mel. How are things going up at Greater Binghamton?
Well, so far they've been going very well. We started off in August with about 11 kids total. With school starting, we lost a few because a couple of our guys were in football. One of the girls was in cheerleading, and they kind of dropped out for sport reasons. because we run it on Tuesday afternoons from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m.
Right.
And our population is, we were targeting 13 to 16-year-olds. We're primarily 13 and 14-year-olds are in group. We have right now 6 people who are pretty consistent throughout the whole program and being involved in the lessons. We're up to lesson 14 or 15. I think we start next week.
Great.
Section
Great.
4. Yeah.
Now, and then just to help me out here, because I know there's a couple of different programs. Is there with your program, where is that, or how do I distinguish it from the other? I know you're both outpatient, so is there a different when you say different location?
Well, we're just right across from, we're kind of across the campus from one another, and there is only the one group that's running at this time. Transportation's been a bit of an issue back and forth.
Gotcha.
We're going to have to wrap up the group in 2 sessions. I was planning on doing it through December, doing one a week, but I'm going to have to double up on some of the last chapters to kind of get things done, because there's another group starting, a parent group starting in mid-November. So I've been informed that I'm going to have to rush things along, which I'm not real pleased about, but that's the nature of the game.
Right. Okay. And then, so you said there's only one group. Sarah, is there enough? I'm a little confused as far as when you say one group at your site. Is Sarah the separate site?
We run our group at her site because we don't have enough room in the satellite unit to run the group.
It is confusing, and the other Greater Binghamton group that is usually here presenting is the adolescent day treatment.
Correct.
Got it, right.
So they have, you know, group every day. So
Got it.
It's a pretty big place here at Greater Binghamton. You should come visit.
I should.
I think, you know what, I'll talk about that a little bit, because I am actually doing some site visits around the state to some of the programs just to get some additional information, so that's very possible. We can talk, I'll bring that up at the end. So, and I don't know, again, I do remember the day treatment program. Is there, could either of you speak to that, or
no.
I could just wait till?
No.
Okay.
No.
No worries. No worries. All right. So moving along, though, so I hear where you're at. Now, if we can, I guess folks are beyond recruitment, although we can still, one of the things I do want to say is in terms of the groups, and a number of sites have been already talking about starting additional groups. So, and I hear some of you are on this call are at different points, some wrapping up. Mel, I heard that, you know, looks like you're wrapping up, but some sites are beginning new groups. And so as you begin new groups, you can contact us if you need new workbooks and begin recruiting again. So, so yes, in terms of recruitment challenges or anything like that, we can talk about those. We've learned a lot about recruitment as we've gone along, so and what makes it work. Any issues around recruitment, though? Questions or issues around recruitment? Let me go back. It sounds like you've all kind of recruited and gotten in, but are there any sort of still questions lying around about that?
This is Mel again. Not really on our end. I really relied on my fellow therapists to also refer kids to the group. We are going to be wrapping up, as I said, but we are planning on starting another group in January.
So far, the key training is going to be. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mel.
Yes.
Oh.
Am I speaking over someone?
Yeah, but I think she realized.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So you were saying you're going to begin recruitment again?
We're going to begin recruitment in December. We'll probably start another group starting in January with my co-facilitator, Lisa Florence.
Yeah, I just walked. Hello.
Lisa is just joining us.
Okay, great. All right. And it sounds from what you were saying, though, that you did pretty good with recruitment. I mean, you've had some drop-off for various reasons, but you did pretty good with recruitment in terms of getting in 11 kids initially.
Your population was very enthusiastic in being in the group.
Great. All right. Well, and so just to move along in terms of the actual groups and how they're running, I'd like to hear a little bit of anything you'd like to share about how the groups are going, whether there's challenges, highlights, your thoughts about or reactions to sections of the workbook or the program that are strong, some that are so whatever. But let's just go around. April, anything so far that you'd like to share?
I'm sorry, I was just filling my coworker. She's getting ready to log in. Can you come back to me with that?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
So Rose and Ray, anything you'd like to share? Any?
I mean, I think the successes we've had were from incorporating activities in. We just did lesson 13 on mental health and emotional health, and I had them do an exercise called Mental Illnesses as Monsters, and I had them draw out on canvases what they thought their illness would look like if it was a physical being, and I think they really liked it, and were displaying their work. So I think adding in these activities is what helps them understand.
So it's not so much them coming from school and feeling like they're back in school. So we've incorporated activities that are fun, and of course we use their opinions as far as what they want to do as far as activities. We incorporated their opinions as to what they want to do instead of us saying this is what you need to do and this is what the book says to do.
Got it. Got it. So you give them a little ownership and give them opportunities to give you ideas about things they'd like?
Correct. We make sure that they do know that we're here for them, that this is their group.
Right. And tell me again a little bit more about that activity that you did. Can you just say it again? How did you, what was it, mental health?
It's Mental Illnesses as Monsters.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Do you want me to describe the whole thing over again?
Well, no, actually it was more the title. I thought I heard that, but mental illnesses as monsters. So then, and then I think you said they sort of draw their mental illness.
Right, how they think it would look like if it was a physical being.
Great. And it sounds like they responded really well to that.
Yeah, I know my young adults, they really liked it more so than the teens. They grasped the concept.
More so than who?
The teen group.
Gotcha, gotcha. Great. And so one of the other things I want to say is that as we've gone along, yes, sites have done many different creative things to liven up the program, liven up the workbook, liven up the activities, which of course was very much supported by us. And one of the things that we ask is that if you can, send us a description, because I think many of these things, what we're thinking about, and again, that's the nature of the Learning Collaborative. We learn as much from you, probably more from you than you learn from us. So those kinds of activities, we've been accumulating them, and in the next version of the workbook, what we're thinking is that, we'll integrate those in there, and I think it's time that we have a kind of leaders manual kind of thing that has these other activities in there and a separate, workbook for the young people. But yes, if you could send us along a brief description of that activity, that would be wonderful. And we've actually uploaded some of those kinds of things onto the KEY website.
Awesome.
Jim?
Anything else, Rose, Ray? Anything else you want to share? Successes, challenges, or?
I mean, not yet, only because we're so new at this. We're only 5 weeks in, so we haven't had too many groups.
Okay. As you move forward, if you're interested, again, on the KEY website, we have the mid-project webinar. I don't know if you all had a chance to be on it, but on the mid-project webinar, we had a couple of sites present. Pedersen Craig did, and Kids Oneida presented, and they submitted their own PowerPoint slides, and on there, if you look at the PowerPoint slides, they recommended certain activities. They're laid out on the PowerPoint slides with kind of instructions. So there's a few things in there if you ever want to peruse that and look at some things that they did, again, similar to what you're doing, they did to spice up the curriculum. So you're more, of course, that's a resource for you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Great. I'm sorry, Mel, was that you? Were you?
Yes, I wanted to add, and when we were talking about the domestic violence and all that with your partners, we added in discussion of the team power and control wheel.
Uh-huh.
Which people have probably seen, we went over that. We thought that was very germane to adding to and enhancing the conversation with teenagers.
Remind me again, Mel, what lesson that is?
Handout.
For us, it was just a handout, but it was in the relationships and making.
Right. Yep.
And just talking about power and control when it comes to domestic violence and everything. We weaved it in.
And Team Power, I assume you mean the organization?
Well,
what's the organization?
It's the National Center for Domestic and Sexual Violence.
Oh, interesting. No, the reason why I say that is because in New York State there is a group called Team Power, and it's kind of like a peer-to-peer group for kids in the mental health system.
No, this was the Team Power and Control Wheel.
Gotcha. Okay. And that was. Can you tell me again where that's from? The national.
That's from the National Center on Domestic and Sexual Violence.
Okay, great.
Also, we use some stuff from the dietitian.
Yeah, we also use some stuff on dietitian, on sensible eating, and talking about real-life calories and different fast food chains and how unhealthy some of the foods are.
Great.
Portion control.
You know, a plate with portion control and all that good stuff to kind of give them some hints and idea on cholesterol and healthy eating.
Great.
The one thing that I think that we struggled with a little bit was our team members, or our members are a little bit younger, so they kind of struggled a little bit with the chapter on the sexual stuff, you know, protection and babies and all of that. So there was a lot of tee-heeing and ha-haing and giggling and embarrassment. So we didn't get a real lot of interaction from them on that one. It was just more of us giving education.
Right.
And that's because of the nature of the age, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Of course, yeah.
So that was a little tough, but they got through it. But it was good information.
And it sounds like you guys got through it, too. You survived, they survived.
It worked.
So, and, I also wanted to make a point about inviting the nutritionist in. It's interesting because one of our sites got through the entire curriculum, the entire workbook, and they're actually going to be continuing the group with more or less the same kids, but what they're going to do the second time around is a lot more of that kind of stuff. So they didn't do that as much in the first round, but in the second round they're going to do, again, even though it's the same kids, they're going to touch on the same subjects, but they're going to do a lot more of, they're going to hit the same subjects, but they're going to do a lot more of invited guests. So they're going to mix it up and go a little bit deeper into those areas because they felt that they covered it all. It was interesting and they got the kids thinking, but they felt that they can go a lot deeper in a number of different areas. So they're having guest speakers come in, as you did with the nutritionist. So things like that. Something to consider also if you're thinking about follow-up groups and you have, again, the same kids. And great. And am I missing any? Oh, and then, oh, I'm sorry. So anything else? Let me go back. April, I know you were talking to someone. Are you back with us? Yeah.
This is actually Liz. I'm April's coworker. She's
hey, Liz.
She's in the background, so I can help answer the question. How are you?
Good, good. And so I was going to ask, yeah, I mean, anything that you wanted to share in particular about the how the group is going and Any successes, any challenges? I know April touched on some of the challenges already in terms of getting it set up and going.
Well, I think that the successes that we have are, even though there is reluctance, we're able to talk them into kind of like using the self-exploration aspect to get them to do it. I think one of the main challenges that is going to come up in the future is that how do we engage them in the chapters using activities as opposed to just the reading and writing type. So, I mean, we're thinking, I really like the idea of showing the calorie count, and we were just talking about doing a stepper and things like having guest speakers. But I think that's one of the challenges that I foresee in the future. Successes are that they've actually managed to write down I think they've written down really good goals that are attainable.
I agree.
And April agrees in the background. I think that they have written down good goals that are attainable, and I hope that we can support them in actually achieving some of them. My concern with that, too, is there are a couple of goals that are attainable in the way future, so I'm not really sure how to get them to break down those goals.
Great. Actually, does anyone else have thoughts about that? What do others on the call do in those situations when you have kids talking about sort of long-term goals?
Like to help them feel that they achieve something towards them.
Right.
Can you ask the question again?
If I can summarize, it's that kids are working on goals, kids are presenting goals that they have, but they seem to be very long-term, very much sort of out there in the future, and they're dealing with, or trying to deal with, sort of getting to the kids to translate that into more smaller-term goals. Did I get that right, Liz?
Yes.
More attainable, smaller-term goals, yeah. Anyone? I mean, I do have a thought. I mean, I think oftentimes with kids, it really is a matter of working backwards from those, and kind of grounding them in the idea of, you know, what it would take for them to be doing every day now in order to reach that goal. Can you give me an example though of one of the goals a kid might have that's like way out there?
Yes, one youth wants to become a lawyer. So their goal is to be a lawyer, and they're still in high school. Okay,
right. And so that's a good example. So I think one of the things is to validate, and, you know, again, obviously not try to, I don't know the kid, I don't know how good a student they are, but obviously, you know, that may or may not be attainable, but I always just sort of have the kids engage in an idea of what they know and what they think they would have to do to become a lawyer. So what does it take to become a lawyer, what they would have to do, and then kind of break that down. So, and a lot of times that, you know, that they are able to sort of say things like go to, you know, finish high school, go to college. Sometimes they may or may not know how much college, so you can kind of prompt them for that kind of stuff. And then you work your way backwards. So if, you know, and then, you know, sort of to finish high school, what would you need to be doing? Or to get to college, what would you need to be doing? And getting them to sort of talk about that. So put it on them, but laying those things out and working backwards from there. And, you know, kids usually, they usually are able to engage in that if you give them that space to talk about it.
How do we make it so, I think one of the other issues that we ran into, or I could see running into, is that trying to give everyone attention, yet engaging everyone at the same time, because I know that if, let's say someone has a goal to, obviously, to be a lawyer. That is their specific goal, but we want to be able to work with him on it, but not bore everyone else during that part of group. How can we share the attention on things like that?
Yeah. Did somebody have something to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, so you don't bore everyone else, there's always something, like being a lawyer is very long-term, that's a long-term goal, but at the same time, there's always something that they can be doing now at the age and stage that they're at now in life to obtain that goal later on. So you could definitely plan some type of activities that will, you know, show them what they need to be doing now as far as, you know, are they good in math, are they good in English, there's certain things you need to be a lawyer. So you can put in activities that everyone can participate in to obtain their career later on. It doesn't have to be solely based on becoming a lawyer, but I mean, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So if you balance out those, then you can figure out what everyone needs and, you know, get an activity together that everyone can participate in. Because there's always something that you could be doing now to obtain what you want to do in the future.
Right, and I think that's an awesome advice. My only concern is that they're hard to gauge use right now, and what gets them excited is talking about their specific interests, which I'm all for everything you said, but then there's going to come a time where I'm also going to want to get them excited towards what they're specifically interested in. So we have like someone who wants to be a lawyer, someone who wants to be a realtor, someone who wants to be a marine biologist, which are all very different things. Do we just ignore those long-term goals and just focus on the short-term ones?
Yeah. And I think it's hard to do that for every kid in the group. When outside of the group, what's available to those young people in addition to KEY?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, right. I mean, do they have, I know you said you're community-based, so they come in for the group, but do they have people that they can work with individually?
If they want to come to April or I, they can, but in terms of what FRC offers, that's about it.
Well, and that's why I say I think that that would be a lot of times when we're talking about goals in group, what I might do actually a lot of times I'll engage the kids in kind of creating a person and creating a goal. So a lot of times I'll go through an exercise where I'll sort of ask the kids to create a person and give them a goal, and then we'll talk about how do you break down goals into smaller pieces with kind of the made-up person. Now, you have real kids with real goals, but a lot of times I'll do that just to sort of get them to think about walking through the process of breaking down goals into further and further, smaller steps, right? So lawyer, college, high school, homework, working backwards. But then I think that your trick is probably going to be in giving them the opportunity to have more. So I think what you can do is capitalize on their enthusiasm about wanting to develop these goals, and if you have the capacity to see them individually, I think that's great, because that also can really deepen the program and your impact on them. So you can, if you have that capacity to set up time separately and say to them, that's really great, let's meet individually and go over your specific goals. You've gone through it with one kid, but maybe with the rest of the kids and the one kid who already you went through, getting more specific and down into the details about, again, what do you have to be doing every day, all the time, to be able to reach your goal. And that's where you get into, of course, the kinds of things that sometimes our kids get into trouble with, like not attending school and not doing homework. And then, further than that, you can problem solve around why they're having those difficulties. So it gets you to get to that point where you can really work on the day-to-day stuff. But that I think if you can offer them to do that individually, that would be the way to do it. So the group doesn't turn into a goals group, where that's, because you could make it a goals group and that's all you end up talking about. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's and it's funny that you mentioned that, because we had discussions about making this about highlighting more the notion of goals and developing goals and following through on goals, but we decided against it. So in the workbook, if you notice, one of the appendices that we have is kind of a goals sheet. So once kids identify the more specific goals, you can use that. Appendix 1 or Appendix A has is kind of like a weekly goal sheet that they can use to track their goals. You're welcome to do that and have that as a way to check in with the kids, either as a group or individually. But we also realize that, yes, that kind of work can become all you do in group as opposed to the content. So, okay, great. Any other highlights, difficulties, challenges? Okay. What happened here? Oh. All right, give me a second. My computer's. So give me one moment. All righty. Well, I'm a little bit.
Hey, Jim?
Yeah.
This is Mel again. I had just one quick question for you. With all the number of chapters that we have, or lessons that we have, about how many sessions would you have broken that down into? I was doing one session or one lesson per week. Is that recommended, or would you recommend condensing that down a little bit?
So,
are you there? Hello? Wow, that didn't work. Hello?
You scared me with the question. Want to take it off speaker?
hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you now, Jim. Did you hear my question?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I heard the question. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties here, but I'm back on. So what I was saying was that when the textbook, the workbook was developed, the idea was that each session could be done in a 50-minute session. We tried to make it sort of viable for clinic settings and, contact hours. So they supposedly, however, with this rollout, again, it's a learning collaborative. We're learning as much. We've told sites, and typically, sites have to get creative with some pieces and have said that, they can do them all. So the intention is, yes, they could be done. We don't put that restriction on you. I mean, if you need more than one session to cover a particular, section, then by all means, do it. But they were designed to try to be able to be covered in a 50-minute session, an hour session or so.
Thank you. That was my question.
Yeah, but we realized that it may take more than one session to cover. And obviously we're fine with that. Any other questions? All right. So again, for those of you, and again, ICL, since you're just getting off, I would encourage you to go to the KEY website and look at some of the stuff that was presented by the other sites, for all of you, to look at the other, what other sites have done with regards to, additional activities. And so I just want to go over the performance indicators. So as we begin to wrap up, coming pretty soon, we're going to be requesting some information that, if you have, it would be great. A number of sites, are sending us their data as we speak. There's a few things that we requested from the very beginning, which was the attendance tracking. So if you're tracking attendance, completing the attendance tracking forms and sending us those. If you're still continuing a group, it's okay if you can send us what you have through the end of October. So even if the group is continuing, if you can give us an idea of how attendance has been throughout, through the end of October, that would be great. Also, the discontinuation forms, which is basically the dropout forms, like why kids have fallen off and stopped participating. So if kids have stopped participating, if we can get the discontinuation forms completed for those kids. The session-by-session helpfulness scale, that's in the back of each student's or each kid's workbook. We're not getting a whole lot from that. If you've gotten them, that would be great. If kids have been completing them, if you've been sort of staying on top of that, but we realize a lot of sites and a lot of kids haven't been keeping up with that. That's okay, but if you have it, that would be wonderful. And then the personal progress checklist, that's what I was referring to before, that's in the appendix, that's Appendix A, and it's kind of a way of kids who are interested in working on specific goals, on sort of writing their goals down there and being able to track them from week to week. So if they have those, that would be great for you to send. In addition to that, there's two things that we asked sites to try to get, and again, totally up to your ability and how much you're able to do it. We were able to find a future orientation scale. So one of the reasons why I mention this is because there is great interest in KEY, and I'm talking about actually nationally there are some folks who are interested in KEY, and we're trying to get some additional data to see what we might impact and in what ways we have an impact on young people. We got this future orientation scale because we kind of thought about what kind of changes we might see or what kind of impact we might see, and one of the things that we believe is that if you're covering these topics and you're getting kids to think about all these different areas of their lives, focusing on strengths, getting them to evaluate themselves, and participating in activities to think about these various areas, that one thing that we thought we might have an impact on is their future orientation, their belief that they can have a better future for themselves. And so we have this scale, we've made it available, it's on the website, and I can send it out again. But the future orientation scale, it's about, I forget, about 12, 15 items, and it asks different questions. We also have, it's been validated, and we have an article describing the research on it. So it's a simple one-shot assessment of their future orientation. We're only going to get it post, but if you can get it from the young people, that would be great. It wasn't intended for a clinical sample, so when you look at the items, some of them might be it's about school and about living independently and about their futures economically, so things like that are in there. But if you feel you can get them from the kids prior to ending, that would be great. And then the last thing is that another suggestion that was made, and this kind of relates to the site visits that I mentioned I've been doing, so I would love to come up and visit, is a workbook review. So many of the sites, most of the sites, in fact, I think all of the sites have been collecting the workbooks as they've gone along. Even though, we've said that workbooks belong to the kids, people have been holding the workbooks. So that's given us an opportunity to, before the groups end, to take a look at the workbooks just to see, we're not expecting a lot because we've said that, we hope that the kids are going to work on the workbooks, but we also don't feel that it's really effective to put a lot of pressure on them to do it. And so we've sort of asked for a balance between encouraging them, focusing on the workbook and letting them use it as they see fit without putting too much pressure on them. So we're not expecting them to have everything completed, but we do want to see what, if anything, they are. So we're setting up these site visits to come out to see the workbooks and do a little checklist of what they've been completing in them, because we want to get an idea of what might be resonating with them, what they might be completing. And so that's the last piece that we want to sort of throw into the evaluation.
Jim?
Yeah.
If you would send out that future-oriented questionnaire to me in the next week, since I'm wrapping up in a couple weeks, I will have the kids fill it out in group, and then we will send that back to you.
Yeah, you'll have it before the end of the day. Actually, you'll have it 10 minutes after we get off this call. So great. Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. And you could do it at any time. I mean, you're far enough along that, I think if you get them to fill it out by the end of October, that'd be perfect. And that gets back to our timeline. So with the data, if you're able to get us the data by October 30th, that would be great, or soon thereafter. And I'll take a minute, though. So in terms of, and Sarah, I think you were the one that invited me. We can talk a little bit about, or actually, I'm not sure if it was was it you, Sarah, to come up and visit? I would like to set up. So I can reach out to all of you and see if we can set up time to come by. And if the workbooks are available, I could do the workbook review. What I've been doing at some of our sites is, since I'm going out to do the workbook reviews, also having a chance to do a brief, more in-depth debrief / quasi-focus group at the site to get a little bit more detailed feedback. So, so what I've been doing, like I said, is doing a little bit of both, interviewing staff about KEY, and then also collecting, looking at the workbooks, not collecting them, doing the workbook review. So I would certainly love to do visits. And if you're interested, you can email me. I'll email you all just to sort of see if it's possible, and that would be great. Okay? And with that, so we're kind of going into this phase of looking at performance indicators and seeing how sites have done. So the last Learning Collaborative, what we're going to do is, so in December, we're not going to have Learning Collaborative webinars in November because, as I said, I'm pretty much setting up site visits and going out and visiting sites and getting information. But we are going to have the wrap-up webinar in December. So in December, I'll be able to share a lot more from the workbook reviews and the data that we've gotten, and interviews that we've done, feedback about KEY, and also, hopefully, as we did in the mid-project webinar, have sites who may have additional experiences that they want to share them on the final webinar. So that's it, folks. Any questions or comments or?
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Okay, you're so welcome. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you all, or you'll be all on the webinar in December. All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Jim.